Captain Taewon Kim stood on the bridge of the Earth exploration vessel Horizon, his eyes fixed on the vast emptiness before him. The ship hummed softly as it pushed deeper into space than any human had gone before. "Captain, all systems are running." "Well," said Ji-young Park, the ship's science officer. Her fingers moved quickly over her control panel. "We're now beyond the Kuiper Belt." Taewon nodded. "Good. This is a big day for all of us." The Horizon was Earth's pride, the first deep space vessel built to explore beyond the edges of our solar system. Its crew of 20 was the best Earth had to offer, chosen from thousands of applicants. "Sir, I'm picking up something strange," said Soo Jin-yoon, the communications specialist. Her voice was calm, but her eyes showed worry. "There's a signal coming from Sector 7. Security Chief Han Bin Lee moved to her station." "What kind of signal?" "I'm not sure. It's not like anything I've seen before," Soo Jin replied. "It's not random, there's a pattern." Captain Taewon felt his heart beat faster. This could be it, the thing every space explorer dreamed of but few dared to hope for. "First contact. Ji-young, scan the area. Hanbin, alert the crew but keep everyone calm. Soo-jin, try to decode that signal," he ordered. Years of training had prepared him for this moment, but nothing could stop the mix of fear and excitement he felt. The bridge crew worked in focused silence. After several minutes, Ji-young looked up from her scanner. "Captain, there's something out there, about 500,000 kilometers away. It's not a natural object. On screen," Taewon ordered. The main display showed a small point of light, barely visible against the blackness of space. "Magnify." The image zoomed in to show a small device floating in space. It looked like a metal ball with strange markings on its surface. Blue light pulsed from several points on its body. "It's a beacon," Ji-young said, "and it's definitely not human-made." Captain Taewon took a deep breath. "Set course to investigate. Approach slowly." As the Horizon moved closer to the beacon, Taewon ordered a message to be sent back to Earth. If this truly was evidence of alien life, humanity needed to know. The Horizon closed the distance to the beacon over the next few hours. The crew grew more excited with each passing minute. "We're within visual range without magnification," said the pilot. "Slow to 1/4 speed," ordered Taewon. "Ji-young, any signs of danger?" "None that I can detect, Captain. The beacon appears to be—" She stopped suddenly, staring at her screen. "Wait, something's wrong." Before she could explain, the ship's alarms began to blare. "3 objects just appeared on our sensors," Hanbin shouted. "They were hidden somehow. They're big, Captain, ship-sized." "Battle stations," Taewon ordered, though he knew the Horizon had only basic defenses. It was an exploration vessel, not a warship. On the main screen, 3 large shapes seemed to materialize from nothing. They had been hiding using some kind of stealth technology. The ships were unlike anything Taewon had seen. Their hulls looked almost like scales, giving them the appearance of giant metal fish or reptiles. "They're surrounding us," Hanbin reported. "No response to hails." "Keep trying," Taewon said. "All languages, all frequencies." "Captain," Soo-jin said, her voice shaking. "I'm picking up communications between those ships. The computer can't translate it yet, but the tone, it doesn't sound friendly." Before Taewon could respond, the ship shuddered violently. "We're being scanned," Ji-young reported. "Some kind of energy beam. It's going right through our hull." "Engines to full," Taewon ordered. "Get us out of here." The pilot tried to comply, but the Horizon barely moved. "They've got us in some kind of hold," the pilot said. "We can't break free." Captain Taewon felt cold fear in his stomach but kept his voice steady. "Send the emergency signal to Earth. Include all data on these ships." Soo-jin worked frantically at her station. "Signal away, Captain, but it will take hours to reach—" Her words were cut short by a blinding flash of light. When Taewon could see again, 5 tall figures stood on the bridge. They had not been there a second before. The creatures were at least 7 feet tall, with gray-green skin that seemed to shimmer like scales. They stood on powerful back legs with long arms ending in clawed hands. Their heads were reptilian, with yellow eyes and rows of sharp teeth. One of the aliens stepped forward. Unlike the others, who wore only simple armor, This one had elaborate markings on its chest plate. It opened its mouth and made a series of clicks and hisses. A device on its arm lit up, and then an artificial voice spoke in halting English. "We are Varak. You are prey." With those words, the aliens raised strange weapons and fired. Blue energy bolts hit several crew members who fell to the ground without a sound. "Run!" Taewon shouted, diving for the emergency weapons locker. Hanbin was already there, pulling out the ship's limited supply of firearms, but they were too slow. More aliens appeared on the bridge in flashes of light. The human crew fought bravely, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. As Taewon fired, his weapon at an approaching alien, he felt something sharp pierce his neck. Looking down, he saw a small dart protruding from his skin. Almost immediately, his limbs grew heavy. As darkness closed in around him, the last thing Captain Taewon saw was the alien leader, the one who had spoken, standing over him. The creature made a sound that might have been laughter. "Weak prey," it said through its translator. "Easy hunt." Taewon wanted to tell the creature it was wrong, that humans were not weak, not easy prey, but the words wouldn't come. As consciousness slipped away, his last thought was of Earth, unaware and unprepared for what was coming. When Taewon awoke, he was no longer on the horizon. He lay on a cold metal floor in a small cell. The walls pulsed with strange light, and the air smelled wrong, too sweet and thick. Through a transparent wall, he could see other cells. Some held his crew members. Others contained beings he had never seen before, aliens of different shapes and sizes. All looked wounded or weak. A tall Varric stopped in front of his cell. It was the leader from the bridge. "I am Hunt Commander. Krith," the alien said through its translator. "Your ship is taken. Half your crew is dead. The rest will serve or feed." Taewon struggled to his feet, fighting the lingering effects of the drug. "Why are you doing this?" Krith's yellow eyes blinked, slowly. "It is the way of things. The strong hunt. The weak are hunted. Your kind is weak." "You're wrong," Taewon said. "You don't know humans." The alien made that laughing sound again. "We know all prey. We have hunted across the stars for thousands of years. Your kind is nothing special." As the alien walked away, Taewon gripped the wall for support. He looked at his surviving crew in the other cells. They were scared but alive. And where there was life, there was hope. The Varric thought humans were just another species of prey. They thought the hunt was over. They were wrong. The hunt had just begun. 3 days had passed since the attack on the horizon. Captain Taewon Kim sat in his cell, watching the Varric guards patrol the prison area. He had counted 14 surviving crew members, less than half of the original 23. The others were either dead or being held somewhere else on the massive alien ship. Taewon's cell was across from Science Officer Ji-Young Park. They could see each other but couldn't speak. The transparent walls blocked sound. Still, they had worked out a simple sign language to communicate. "Tests today," Ji-Young signed with her hands. "Strange machines." Taewon nodded. The Varric had been studying the humans, running various tests. Sometimes the tests hurt. Sometimes they just took samples of blood or skin. The alien seemed very interested in how humans worked. In the cell next to Ji-Young was engineer Do-Hyun Choi. He had been trying to understand how the cell doors operated. So far, he had not found a way out. 4 cells down, Security Chief Han Bin Lee sat perfectly still. Unlike the others who showed their fear or anger, Han Bin kept his face blank. He watched everything, missing nothing. Taewon knew Han Bin was planning something. He just hoped the security chief would wait for the right moment. A hissing sound announced the arrival of more Varric. These were different from the guards. They wore white coverings instead of armor, and carried tools instead of weapons. "Science team," Taewon signed to Ji-Young. The lead alien was shorter than the others but had more elaborate markings on its white covering. It walked to a control panel and pressed several buttons. A voice came from its translator device. "I am Chief Researcher Mord. More tests today." The cell doors slid open. Guards entered and placed metal collars around the humans' necks. Taewon felt a small needle pierce his skin as the collar locked in place. "These will kill you if you try to escape," Mord explained. "Or if you attack us. Be smart, Prey." The humans were led from their cells to a large room filled with strange equipment. Tables with straps lined one wall, containers filled with unknown. Liquids bubbled and hissed along another. "Group 1 this way," Mord said, pointing to Taiwan, Ji-young, and 3 others. "Group 2. Go with sub-researcher Vex." Taiwan's group was taken to a section with 5 tables. Each human was strapped down. Taiwan tried to stay calm as cold metal instruments touched his skin. Beside him, Ji-young kept her eyes open, watching everything the aliens did. "Human biology is interesting," Mord said as he examined Taiwan. "You are so soft with no natural weapons, no claws, weak teeth, thin skin, yet you survived on your world. Curious." "We're smarter than we look," Taiwan said. Mord made a clicking sound that might have been laughter. "All prey thinks it is smart, until it is eaten." For the next hour, the Varric scientists poked and prodded the humans. They tested their strength, their reflexes, even their pain responses. Taiwan noticed that Ji-young was watching the aliens more than they were watching her. She was studying them, learning their weaknesses. When they were returned to their cells, Taiwan felt tired and sore. But he also felt something else: hope. The Varric were strong, but they were overconfident. They didn't see humans as a threat. That was a mistake. As night fell, or what passed for night on the Varric ship, the lights simply dimmed. Taiwan watched Hanbin closely. The security chief was examining his cell door with new interest. During the tests, he must have seen something useful. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the prison area. Red lights flashed as Varric guards ran past the cells. "What's happening?" Taiwan signed to Ji-young. She shook her head. She didn't know. Minutes later, a Varric officer stormed into the prison area. It was Hunt Commander Krith. He went straight to Taiwan's cell. "Your people," Krith hissed. "Group 2 escaped. How?" Taiwan kept his face blank. "I don't know what you're talking about." Krith slammed his clawed hand against the transparent wall. "Lies. How did they remove the collars? How did they disable the security sensors? Answer me." Taiwan felt a surge of pride. Some of his crew had escaped. He hadn't even known it was possible, but they had found a way. "Maybe you're not as good at hunting as you think," he said. Krith's yellow eyes narrowed. "They will be found. And when they are, they will be eaten while you watch." He turned to the guards. "Double the security. Check the collars on all remaining prey." After Krith left, Taiwan tried to hide his excitement. If some of the crew had escaped, there was a chance they could help the others. But who had escaped? And how? His question was answered later that night. As the guards changed shifts, there was a moment when no Varric was watching the cells. A soft tapping sound came from the ceiling above Taiwan's cell. Looking up, he saw a small section of the ceiling move. A face appeared in the gap. It was Hanbin Lee. Taiwan almost called out in surprise before remembering to stay quiet. Hanbin put a finger to his lips, then dropped a small object into the cell. It looked like a key card of some kind. Then he disappeared back into the ceiling. Taiwan quickly hid the key card in his boot. When the guards returned, they noticed nothing unusual. Over the next day, Taiwan watched and waited. He noticed other crew members receiving similar visits from the ceiling when the guards weren't looking. Ji-young, Do-hyun, and several others now had hidden key cards. During the daily tests, Ji-young managed to sign a message to Taiwan. "Hanbin has a plan. 3 days. Be ready." Meanwhile, engineer Do-hyun was proving valuable in another way. The Varric had put him to work fixing some of their equipment, not realizing that he was learning how their technology worked with every repair. "Their ship systems are strange, but I'm starting to understand them," Do-hyun whispered to Taiwan during a moment when the guards were distracted. "They're not as advanced as they seem. They just have a head start." On the 3rd day, as Ji-young had indicated, the opportunity came. During the evening meal, all the lights in the prison area suddenly went out. The emergency systems kicked in, but they only provided dim red lighting. Tae-wan heard the guards shouting in confusion. Then he heard the soft hiss of his cell door opening. In the dim light, he could see Hanbin standing there, wearing what looked like pieces of Varric armor. "Quickly, Captain," Hanbin whispered. "We don't have much time." Tae-wan didn't need to be told twice. He slipped out of the cell. In the corridor, he saw other crew members being freed by humans he didn't recognize at first. They were wearing makeshift masks made from cloth and Varric materials, disguising their faces. "This way," Hanbin said, leading them down a side corridor. "We've found a safe place in the maintenance tunnels. The Varric rarely go there because the spaces are too small for them." As they moved through the dimly lit corridors, Tae-wan had many questions. "How did you escape? What happened to the others?" "I'll explain everything when we're safe," Hanbin replied, but the short answer is they underestimated human fingers. Tae-wan didn't understand what Hanbin meant until they reached the maintenance access. The opening was small, just big enough for a human to crawl through, but too small for the larger Varric. Inside the tunnel, more humans waited with improvised weapons and stolen Varric tools. The Varric evolved as predators with claws, Hanbin explained as they crawled deeper into the maintenance system. "They never developed fine motor skills like we have. I was able to pick the lock on my collar using just a small piece of metal I found during the tests." Tae-wan felt a surge of hope. The humans weren't just hiding, they were fighting back, and they had found a way to use their differences from the Varric as an advantage. "What's the plan now?" Tae-wan asked. Hanbin's face turned serious. "First, we rescue everyone we can. Then we find a way to take control of this ship." "Take control? There are thousands of Varric on board." "Yes," Hanbin said with a small smile. "But they've spent their whole lives being the hunters. They don't know what it's like to be hunted. We do. And now we're going to teach them." 1 week had passed since Captain Tae-wan Kim joined the escaped humans in the maintenance tunnels of the Varric mothership. What had started as a small group of survivors had grown into an organized resistance. 23 humans now lived in the narrow spaces between the walls of the massive alien vessel. Their main base was in a forgotten storage area near the ship's cooling systems. The Varric, evolved for hot climates, avoided the cold section. This gave the humans a safe place to plan and rest. "Report," Tae-wan said as Hanbin returned from a scouting mission. "Good news and bad news," Hanbin replied. "The good news is, we found 3 more crew members alive. They're being kept in the research wing. The bad news is the Varric are adapting. They've started using smaller drones to search the maintenance tunnels." Ji-young Park looked up from her work. She had been studying Varric biology based on what she had seen during her time in the research lab. "They're learning. That's not like them. The Varric don't usually change their tactics." "We've forced them to," Tae-wan said. "They've never had prey fight back like this." Do-hyun Choi entered the room carrying a bundle of wires and small devices. In the past week, the engineer had proven invaluable, using his knowledge to turn Varric technology against them. "I've got something new," Do-hyun said with a tired smile. He rarely slept more than a few hours at a time, always working on new ways to fight back. "These will disrupt their communications. Place them near any speaker system, and they'll create feedback the Varric can't stand." Tae-wan nodded in approval. "Good work. We'll use them in tonight's operation." The humans had developed a simple but effective strategy. Strike quickly, cause chaos, and disappear back into the maintenance tunnels before the Varric could respond. Each day, they grew bolder. That night, 3 teams set out from the base. Hanbin led the first team to rescue the crew members in the research wing. Ji-young took the second team to the food storage area to steal supplies. Tae-wan led the third team to place Do-hyun's devices near key communication points throughout the ship. Tae-wan's team moved silently through the tunnels, emerging only when necessary to place the devices. At each location, they set a timer, giving themselves enough time to reach the next point. "Captain," whispered Soo Jin-yoon, who had been rescued 3 days earlier. "Someone's coming." They froze, pressing themselves against the wall of a dark corridor. 2 Varric guards walked past, talking in their clicking language. Taewon didn't need to understand their words to know they were unhappy. The guards' scales were slightly raised, a sign of agitation Ji Young had identified. After the guards passed, the team continued their mission. At the last communication hub, Taewon placed the final device and set the timer. 2 minutes, he said. Let's move. They were halfway back to the maintenance access when alarms started blaring throughout the ship. But these weren't the usual alarms. These switched on and off, creating an irregular pattern that seemed to be causing the Varric extreme distress. Through a small window in a door, Taewon watched as several Varric guards dropped their weapons and covered the sides of their heads, where their hearing organs were located. The sound that was merely annoying to humans was painful to the aliens. It works, Sujin said with a smile. Do-hyun's device works. Back to base, Taewon ordered. Let's see if the others had similar success. When they returned to the base, they found Hanbin's team had already arrived with the 3 rescued crew members. All were thin and weak, but alive. The confusion helped, Hanbin reported. The guards were too distracted by the noise to notice us. An hour later, Ji Young's team returned, carrying bags of food and medical supplies. We found something else, Ji Young said, holding up a small tablet-like device. I think it's some kind of map or manual. Do-hyun might be able to translate it. Do-hyun took the device and began working on it immediately. The others ate and rested, preparing for the next day's missions. Halfway through the night cycle, Do-hyun woke Taewon with excitement in his eyes. "Captain, you need to see this," he said, showing Taewon the tablet. "I figured out enough of their language to understand the basics. This isn't just a map of the ship. It's a star chart showing their planned route." Taewon looked at the display. Strange symbols marked various points in what appeared to be a 3-dimensional map of space. "What does it mean?" he asked. "This point here," Do-hyun said, pointing to a symbol that pulsed red. "I think it's Earth. They're planning to go there next. And based on the other markings, I think they've already sent a message to their homeworld about us." Taewon felt a chill run down his spine. "You mean they're planning an invasion?" "It looks that way," Do-hyun confirmed. "And based on the time markings, they'll reach Earth in less than a month." The news changed everything. Until now, their goal had been simple survival and maybe eventually finding a way home. Now they were racing against time to save their planet. Taewon called an emergency meeting of all the humans. When everyone had gathered, he explained the situation. "We need a new plan," he concluded. "It's not enough to annoy the Varric or even to escape. We need to stop this ship from reaching Earth." "How?" asked one of the crew. "There are thousands of them and only 23 of us. We have advantages they don't expect," Ji Young said. "I've been studying them. They need more rest than we do. They can't function well without at least 10 hours of sleep in each cycle. We can operate on much less." "And they're overconfident," Hanbin added. "They still think of us as just clever prey. They haven't realized we're predators too. Just of a different kind. Earth evolved 2 kinds of predators," Ji Young explained to the group. "The ambush predator like the Varric, who relies on strength and speed for a quick kill, and the persistence predator, like humans, who can outlast their prey through endurance and intelligence." Taewon nodded. "That's our advantage. We'll wear them down. We'll strike and retreat over and over, giving them no time to rest." Over the next few days, the humans escalated their attacks. They no longer just stole supplies or rescued crew members. Now they actively sabotaged the ship's systems. Do-hyun taught them how to cause malfunctions that weren't deadly, but were extremely annoying and time-consuming to fix. The Varric response grew increasingly desperate. Hunt Commander Krith appeared on the ship's announcement system, his voice filled with rage. "Human prey. This game ends now. Surrender and your deaths will be quick. Continue to resist and we will make you suffer before you die." The humans responded by cutting power to the announcement system mid-threat. On the 10th day of their resistance, Ji Young made an important discovery. While placing sonic disruptors near the ship's command center, she overheard Varric officers talking about a special specimen. "I think they're holding someone important," she told Taewon when she returned. They mentioned high security and constant monitoring. It might be one of our people, someone they think is valuable. Taewon thought for a moment. We need to find out who it is. If they think this person is special, we need to know why. Han Bin organized a reconnaissance mission to the high-security area Ji Yong had identified. When he returned, his usual calm expression was replaced with urgency. "It's you, Captain," he said. "They have a copy of you." "A copy? What do you mean?" "I don't know how, but they've created something that looks exactly like you. It's in a special chamber, surrounded by Varrock scientists. They're running tests on it constantly." Taewon's mind raced. A copy? Were the Varrock advanced enough to clone humans? Or was something else happening? "We need to see this for ourselves," he decided. "And, if possible, we need to destroy it. Whatever they're learning from this copy, it can't be good for Earth." As they prepared for their most dangerous mission yet, alarm signals blared throughout the ship. These weren't the usual alarms. Something big was happening. Through a maintenance hatch, Taewon saw Varrock troops running toward the docking bays. On a nearby screen, a message flashed in the Varrock language. "Do-hyun, what does it say?" Taewon asked. Do-hyun studied the message, his face growing pale. "It says, Earth vessels approaching. Prepare for battle." The humans looked at each other in shock. Earth had somehow found them. Help was coming. But based on what they knew of Varrock weapons, even Earth's best ships wouldn't stand a chance against the alien mothership. Unless... Change of plans, Taewon said, his voice firm with determination. "We're going to help our people. It's time to take this ship. We need to move fast," Captain Taewon Kim told the gathered humans. "Our planet has sent ships, but they don't know what they're facing." The 23 crew members of the Horizon stood in their hidden base. Their faces showed a mix of hope and fear. Earth had found them somehow, but the Varrock ship was far more powerful than anything humans had built. "The plan has 3 parts," Taewon continued. "First, we need to disable the Varrock's main weapons. Second, we need to access their communication system to warn the Earth ships. And third, we need to find out what they're doing with that copy of me." Han Bin Lee stepped forward. "I'll lead the team to take out the weapons. Do-hyun has shown us where the control systems are." Ji Yong Park nodded. "I'll handle communications. Soo-jin and I can create a message that our ships will understand." "Good," Taewon said. "I'll take a small team to investigate this copy. We all meet back here in 2 hours, no matter what happens. If any team doesn't return, the others continue with the mission." They broke into 3 groups and moved out through different maintenance tunnels. Taewon took 3 crew members with him: Medical Officer Yuri Kang, Engineer Min-ho Jang, and Navigator Jun-ho Park. As they crawled through the narrow spaces between the ship's walls, Taewon thought about how far they had come. 2 weeks ago they had been prisoners, believing they would die on this alien vessel. Now they were fighting back, not just for themselves, but for their entire planet. "We're approaching the high-security section," Min-ho whispered, checking a small device. Do-hyun had built that detected Varrock life signs. 2 guards at the entrance. Taewon nodded. "Let's use the sonic disruptors." Yuri placed one of Do-hyun's devices near a vent that opened into the corridor. She activated it and quickly moved back. A high-pitched noise, barely audible to humans, but devastating to Varrock hearing, filled the area. Through a small gap they watched as the 2 guards dropped to their knees, clutching the sides of their heads. Taking advantage of their distress, Taewon's team emerged from the maintenance tunnel and quickly subdued the guards. "Drag them into the tunnel," Taewon ordered. "Min-ho, can you get us through that door?" Min-ho examined the security panel. "Yes, but it will take a few minutes." While Min-ho worked, Taewon contacted the other teams using the small communication devices Do-hyun had created from Varrock technology. "Han Bin, status?" "We've reached the weapons control room." Han Bin's voice came through, slightly distorted. "Heavy resistance. We're proceeding slowly." "Ji Yong?" "We're in position near the communication center, waiting for the right moment to move in." Taewon was about to respond when Min-ho called out, "I've got it." The heavy security door slid open, revealing a sterile white corridor. Unlike the rest of the ship, which had a biological feel with its scale-like walls, this area looked more like a human laboratory. "Stay alert," Taiwan warned as they moved forward. "This doesn't look like typical Varric design." They passed several rooms with transparent walls containing strange equipment. In one, various Earth objects from the horizon were being studied. In another, what looked like pieces of human tissue were suspended in clear liquid. At the end of the corridor was a large chamber. Through its transparent wall, Taiwan saw something that made his blood run cold. Inside was what appeared to be himself, lying on a table, connected to various machines. But something was wrong. The copy's chest didn't move. It wasn't breathing. "It's not alive," Yuri said, peering through the glass. "It's some kind of perfect model of you, but it's not biological. At least, not fully." "Why would they create this?" Junho asked. Before anyone could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Different from the usual alert signals, these sounded more urgent. Taiwan's communication device crackled. "Captain!" It was Hanbin's voice, filled with excitement. "We've done it. The main weapons are offline." "Good work," Taiwan replied. "Get back to base." He was interrupted by a loud crash as the entire ship shook violently. "We're under attack," Minho said. "The Earthships must be firing on us." Another communication came through, this time from Ji Yong. "Captain, we've accessed their systems. We're sending a message to the Earthships now, telling them we're on board." "Tell them to target the engines but avoid the central sections," Taiwan ordered. "That's where most of us are." As more explosions rocked the ship, Taiwan made a decision. "We need to find out what this copy is for. Minho, can you get us into that chamber?" Minho examined the door's security panel. "This is different from the others. I'm not sure I can—" His words were cut short as the door suddenly opened on its own. Inside stood a tall Varric in elaborate white coverings, Chief Researcher Mord. "I wondered when you would come, Captain," Mord said through his translator. "Curious about your twin?" Taiwan raised his improvised weapon, a piece of metal pipe. "What is it? Why did you make it?" Mord made a clicking sound that Taiwan had come to recognize as laughter. "Not just a copy. A key. We learned your world uses biometric security, retinal scans, fingerprints, voice patterns. This model has all of yours. Perfect, down to the last detail." Taiwan felt sick as he understood. "You were going to use it to access Earth's defense systems." "Very smart for prey," Mord said. "Now put down your weapons, you are still on our ship." Another explosion, closer this time, shook the room. Lights flickered, and for a moment the power seemed to fail. In that moment of darkness, Taiwan and his team attacked. Though Mord was stronger, the four humans working together managed to overpower him. They tied him up using cables from the laboratory equipment. "The copy," Taiwan said. "We need to destroy it." They entered the chamber and disconnected the model from the machines. Up close, the resemblance was even more disturbing. It looked exactly like Taiwan, down to the small scar on his left eyebrow. "What should we do with it?" Yuri asked. "Take it with us," Taiwan decided. Du Hyun should see this technology. As they left the laboratory with their prisoner and the copy, Taiwan's communication device came to life again. "Captain," it was Sujin's voice. "We've established contact with the Earthship. It's the Defiance. Admiral Min-Ho Kang is commanding it." Taiwan felt a surge of hope. Min-Ho Kang had been his teacher at the Space Academy. If anyone could battle the Varric effectively, it was him. "Tell them we're working on taking control of the ship," Taiwan replied. "Ask them to focus fire on sections 7 and 9, the power core and the engine control." As they made their way back to the maintenance tunnels, they encountered 3 Varric guards. This time the humans didn't hide or run. They fought directly, using the weapons they had taken and the knowledge of Varric weaknesses they had gained. The battle was quick but fierce. When it was over, all 3 Varric lay unconscious, and Junho had a deep cut on his arm. "I'm fine," he insisted as Yuri tried to examine the wound. "We need to keep moving." They reached the main human base to find most of the crew already there. Hanbin's team had successfully disabled the weapons, and Ji Yong's team had maintained the communication link with the Defiance. The Earth ships are amazing, Ji Yong told Taiwan. They have some kind of new drive system that allowed them to reach us quickly, and their weapons are doing real damage to the Varric ship. But we're still outmatched, Hanbin pointed out. The Varric have called for reinforcements from their fleet. We intercepted the message. Taiwan looked at the copy they had brought back, now lying on a makeshift table. Then we need to take control of this ship before they arrive. We can use what we know about the Varric against them. Do-hyun examined the copy with fascination. This is incredible technology. They've created a perfect physical model, but there's also computer systems inside it, here and here. He pointed to barely visible seams on the copy's head and chest. Can we use it somehow? Taewon asked. Do-hyun thought for a moment. Maybe. If they designed it to work with Earth systems, it might also work with Varric systems. The principles would be similar. What do you mean? I mean, Do-hyun said with a growing smile, we might be able to use your copy to take control of their main computer. As the Earth ships continued their attack outside, the humans prepared for their final push. They would use everything they had learned about the Varric, all the advantages they had discovered, to take control of the ship that had been their prison. Hunt, Commander Krith's voice came over the ship's announcement system, no longer confident but filled with rage and desperation. Humans, you cannot win. The might of the Varric Empire will crush your pathetic ships and your planet. Surrender now. Taewon looked at his crew at the determination in their eyes. They had been hunted, tested, and underestimated. Now they would show the Varric what humans were truly capable of. Let's end this hunt, Taewon said. It's time to show the predators they chose the wrong prey. We have one chance to get this right, Captain Taewon Kim told his crew. The humans huddled around Do-hyun Choi, who was working on the artificial copy of Taewon. Outside, the battle between Earth ships and the Varric mothership continued to rage. How long until their reinforcements arrive? Taewon asked. Ji-young Park checked a small device that monitored Varric communications. Based on their messages, about 3 hours. And the copy? Do-hyun looked up from his work. Almost ready. I've modified it to connect to their main computer. When we plug it in, it should give us access to all ship systems. Taewon nodded. Good. Here's the plan. Hanbin, take a team to the engine room. Once we gain control, be ready to change course. Ji-young, stay in contact with the Earth ships. Tell them to prepare for a ceasefire. The rest of you prepare for a final push to the bridge. The humans nodded. After weeks of being hunted, they had become hunters themselves. They knew the Varric ship better than its own crew. They had learned to use the aliens' weaknesses against them. One more thing, Taewon said. Take these. He held up small vials of liquid that Yuri had prepared. The Varric are sensitive to certain smells. This will disorient them without affecting us. As the teams prepared to move out, Taewon's communication device crackled to life. Captain Kim. It was a new voice, one he recognized immediately. Admiral Kang, Taewon replied. It's good to hear your voice, sir. Likewise, Captain. We thought, you were lost. How did you survive? It's a long story, Admiral. Right now, we need to coordinate our efforts. We're about to attempt to take control of the Varric ship from within. There was a pause before Admiral Kang replied. Understood. The Defiance will provide whatever support you need. We've been hit hard, but we're still in the fight. Tell your ships to target Section 12, Taewon said. That's their command center. We need to create a distraction while we make our move. Consider it done. Good luck, Captain. As Taewon ended the communication, Hanbin approached him. The teams are ready. Then let's move out. The humans left their hidden base for the last time, splitting into their assigned groups. Hanbin's team headed for the engine room, while Taewon led the largest group toward the bridge. Each person carried weapons made from Varric technology and the vials of Yuri's chemical mixture. As they moved through the corridors, they could feel the ship trembling under the impact of Earth weapons. Alarms blared constantly, and groups of Varric soldiers ran past, too focused on the external attack to notice the humans hiding in shadowy corners. When they reached the approach to the bridge, Taewon halted his team. Ahead, at least 10 Varric. Guards stood at attention protecting the entrance. "They're expecting us," Sujin whispered. Taewon nodded. "Use the vials, then we move fast." 6 humans tossed their vials toward the guards. The small containers broke, releasing a strong-smelling liquid. The effect on the Varric was immediate. The aliens began to sway, their movements becoming uncoordinated, as the smell overwhelmed their sensitive senses. "Now!" Taewon shouted. The humans charged, wielding their makeshift weapons. The battle was brief but intense. Despite their confusion, the Varric were still dangerous predators. 2 humans fell with injuries, but the rest pushed forward, subduing the guards. Min-Ho-jang rushed to the door controls and began working to override them. "This will take a minute, Captain." "Make it quick," Taewon replied, helping the injured crew members to safety. Suddenly, a massive explosion rocked the ship. The lights flickered, then went out completely, plunging them into darkness. Emergency lighting came on a moment later, casting an eerie red glow over everything. "What was that?" Taewon asked into his communicator. "Direct hit on the command center," Ji-young's voice replied. "The Earth ships hit their target perfectly." Min-Ho let out a triumphant cry as the bridge door slid open. "We're in." Taewon led the way onto the Varric bridge. Unlike human ships, the command center was vast and circular, with organic-looking control stations positioned around a central platform. On that platform stood Hunt Commander Krith, surrounded by his officers. "You!" Krith hissed when he saw Taewon. "How dare you enter this sacred space?" "Your hunt is over, Commander," Taewon replied calmly. "Surrender your ship." Krith's scales bristled with rage. "Varric do not surrender to prey." "Then for once, learn from your prey," Taewon said. "Learn to adapt." He signaled to Do-hyun, who stepped forward carrying the modified copy. Now Do-hyun, the engineer, moved to what they had identified as the main computer interface and connected the copy to it. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the copy's eyes opened, glowing with an inner light. Symbols began to flash across nearby screens. "What are you doing?" Krith demanded, taking a step forward. "Taking control of your ship," Taewon answered. "Using the very tool you created to destroy us." Krith roared and launched himself at Taewon. The Varric commander was faster and stronger, but Taewon had been preparing for this moment. He dodged the initial attack and used Krith's momentum against him, a fighting technique Hanbin had taught the crew. As Taewon fought with Krith, the other humans engaged the Varric officers. Though outnumbered, the humans had the advantage of surprise and desperation. They fought not just for themselves, but for their entire planet. "It's working," Do-hyun called out. "We're gaining access to all systems." Just then, Hanbin's voice came through the communicator. "Engine room secured, Captain. We have control of propulsion and power systems." Taewon, still grappling with Krith, managed to reply, "Set course away from Earth. Maximum speed." Krith, hearing this, fought with renewed fury. "You cannot steal a Varric ship. It is forbidden." "We're not stealing it," Taewon said, ducking under a swipe of Krith's claws. "We're claiming it as fair payment for the lives you took." With a final surge of strength, Taewon broke free of Krith's grip and struck a decisive blow. The Varric commander staggered back, stunned by the human's strength and endurance. "Now yield," Taewon demanded, standing over his fallen enemy. For the first time since their capture, he saw something new in the Varric's yellow eyes, respect and perhaps even fear. "Ship systems transferred to human control," Do-hyun announced. "We have full access to navigation, weapons, and communications." Ji-young, who had joined them on the bridge, moved to a communication station. "Admiral Kang reports the Varric reinforcements are visible on long-range scanners 20 minutes out. Tell the Earth ships to form up around us," Taewon ordered. "We're all leaving together." As the humans secured the bridge and their injured companions, Taewon approached the central computer, where Do-hyun was working. "What have you found?" he asked. Do-hyun's face was grim. "A galactic map, Captain. The Varric have been doing this for thousands of years. There are markers for dozens of species they've hunted to extinction, and hundreds more targeted for future hunts." He pointed to a small blue dot, "including Earth." Taewon studied the map with growing horror and determination. Can you send this information to other planets, the ones they're planning to hunt next? Yes, Do-hyun said. Their communication system can reach across the galaxy. Do it. Send a warning. Tell them about the Varak, and tell them that they're not alone anymore. As the mothership changed course, moving away from Earth with the human vessels flanking it, Taewon turned to face Hunt Commander Krith, who had been bound and placed under guard. Watch and learn, Commander, Taewon said. This is how humans hunt. Not for sport or food, but to protect. Krith's translator converted his clicks and hisses. What will you do with us? Eat us as we would have eaten you? Taewon shook his head. No. We'll take you back to Earth as prisoners. You'll be treated fairly, studied, and perhaps one day, your people and mine can find a way to coexist without hunting each other. The Varak seemed confused by this concept. Why show mercy to enemies? Because that's the true strength of humanity. Taewon replied, not our technology or our weapons, but our ability to see beyond the hunt, our ability to choose a different path. As the ship accelerated away from the approaching Varak reinforcements, Taewon looked around at his crew. They had started as explorers become prey, then hunters, and now they were something else entirely. Protectors of a galaxy that had never known anything but the law of predator and prey. Ji-young joined him at the command platform. Admiral Kang reports that Earth is preparing a fleet to meet us. The news of alien life has changed everything. It's just the beginning, Taewon said, looking at the galactic map with its countless stars and planets. Our role in the galaxy is going to be very different from what the Varak imagined. As if in answer, the communication system lit up with responses from some of the worlds that had received their warning. Species that had lived in fear of the Varak for generations were now reaching out, seeking alliance with these strange new protectors called humans. The predators had attacked humans, never expecting such a retaliation. But even more, they never expected that their prey would not only fight back, but would change the rules of the hunt forever. In the vastness of space, a new force was emerging, not defined by tooth and claw, but by compassion tempered with strength, and by the uniquely human ability to turn adversity into opportunity. The hunt was over. The alliance had begun,